All right, welcome back now on day 8. Happy Tuesday. In our Advent readings through Isaiah. Today is chapters 22, 23, and 24. The first reading in 22, the readings have been very much about God's judgment, and we've already seen it mentioned, God's judgment over Jerusalem, and now once again, as repetitious as all of this is, we're finding once again the judgment over Jerusalem, and it's poetically rich. This is mourning language. Isaiah, who is watching the demise of his people and his homeland, his holy places and his sacred ground. And we get a sense of the pain of Isaiah as he's watching this turmoil as it develops in and around Jerusalem. Now, one point of interest that I'll draw out in this 22nd chapter, it talks about the servant, God's servant, Eliakim, and how he's going to rise up, and the key to the house of David is going to be on his shoulder, and no one can close it. When he closes the door, no one can open it, and this very interesting language of Eliakim. We'll meet him in another few chapters, not this week, but I believe next week we will read a little bit more about Eliakim, and I'll introduce more information at that time. Although we have very little about him, but yet even in this whole chapter that deals with a bit of judgment, yet here is a bright shining light in Eliakim, and that's really how this book is. A lot of darkness, but yet there's going to be very deep and profound shining lights. And as I mentioned yesterday, once we get past chapter 34, the light is going to start shining a bit brighter and a bit brighter each and every day. Then into chapter number 23. Of course, again, judgment. This time a new victim, the area of Tyre. And then as we move into chapter 24, here's a judgment on all of the earth, as the poetic description here is quite engaging, really. This world is changing around Isaiah and around the cultural identity of that time. Babylon has risen up, and they are devastating each kingdom that they meet. And inevitably the questions are asked, how long is this going to go? When will it stop? Will they conquer the whole world? How long will the Babylonians be in control? And we've already seen in yesterday's reading that the Babylonians are not going to be in control forever, that God is going to judge them as well. But it's difficult to see the promises of tomorrow through the lens of today. And so that is the challenge that we see as Isaiah is something of it's integral in the way it presents Israel. It's almost indicative of their entire history in the biblical narrative of dark times, but looking for that eventual hope. And even here in chapter 24, with all of this, all of these descriptions and adjectives of the pain that people are going through, yet here at the very end, we see here this idea that the Lord will become king. that God is the one who is in control, and lest that they forget and confuse and think that the powers are in control. Just because the powers, the kingdoms, the rulers, the personalities seem to be having their way, that doesn't mean that God is not still without plan and without influence and without control even. And so here there is this language within here. The moon will be covered up. The bright sun is going to be darkened. And, this is language that we find even in the New Testament when Jesus is responding to questions about when the time of God's kingdom is going to come. And these images are used in this book of Isaiah during the time of Jesus. Was probably the most popular book amongst the Jews at that time, because they recognized that the time was ripe for fulfillment, that much of what Isaiah had prophesied more than 500 years before and talked about, it was still applicable to their time. The social circumstance was applicable, as well as the fulfillment was still left to where open-ended, to where they were hoping their time would be when the fullness and the restoration of the kingdom would come. And it did come in the form of Christ and what Christ was doing. And so I will leave you with that, and thank you for hanging in there during some of these challenging readings. And tomorrow we will continue on Wednesday, chapters 25, 26, and 27.